Hey everybody, welcome back to Historical-ish. This is episode 10 of the Ancient Mysteries Iceberg Volume 2. This is the final episode of the Volume 2 Iceberg, so a compilation video should be up shortly. So if you want to check that out, I'll put a card up here once it's done. Now before we jump in, here's a little word from our sponsors. Just kidding, don't have any of those, so let's jump right in. Number 11, the Astronaut of Casar. So this is located in the village of Casar, just outside Casare, and it's essentially an old granite slab that adorned the south wall of a local cemetery. Throughout the generations, nobody has really understood what this carving has meant. A lot of the locals say that it makes the elders unsettled with its unsettling grin, unusually rounded shoulders, and prominently oversized head, which then has created this folklore around this specific carving. So a little bit of historical context, scholars date the stone slab to the Roman era, possibly even earlier. The prevailing theory suggests that it represents a Celtiberian warrior from the 1st or 2nd century BC. Despite its ancient origins, its unconventional appearance has led to its modern nicknames, the Astronaut of Casar or the Alien of Casar. To the modern eye, the figure bears striking resemblance to an individual in a spacesuit, or perhaps an otherworldly being, which kind of alludes to that otherworldly or even unsettling feeling that the folklore surrounds it with. At the heart of the Steely's intrigue is the cryptic inscription written in Latin characters. This script appears to be in an Indo-European dialect, potentially the language of the region's earliest inhabitants. The inscription's meaning hasn't yet been solved, and while many scholars have attempted to decode it, its consensus has yet to be reached on what these letters actually mean. So with it looking like an astronaut, theories have come out about the ancient astronaut theory. It could be an extraterrestrial visitor. It could be the ancient civilization had far more knowledge and technologically advanced capabilities than what we're aware of. Just like any of the other ones that we've talked about, this kind of points in that same direction. So other than the ancient astronaut theory, I don't really have any other theories for you. But like I've said before, usually the easiest explanation is the right one. Number 12, Triple Burial of Dolni, Vestonice. So the Triple Burial is an archaeological discovery found in the Czech Republic. This burial dates back to approximately 26,000 to 27,000 years ago during the Gravettian period of the Upper Paleolithic, and gives some pretty interesting insights on the social and ritual practices of the prehistoric European hunter-gatherers. The burial was uncovered in Dolni, Vestonice, a site that has provided an abundance of artifacts and knowledge about the Upper Paleolithic European societies. The grave itself contains the remains of 3 individuals, a man flanked by 2 women. The man's head is covered by the woman on his right, suggesting an intentional and symbolic burial position. The male individual displayed signs of several congenital anomalies and diseases, which would have made survival challenging without the assistance of his community. One of the females showed evidence of a head injury that had healed, suggesting she survived a serious trauma. The second female seems to have been healthy at the time of her death. The intentional positioning of the bodies has led researchers to hypothesize a variety of scenarios, from a shared accident or sacrifice to a familial or social connection. The nature and significance of the burial, whether symbolic, ritualistic, or functional, remain completely speculative. The evidence of care towards the male individual despite his health challenges suggests that the Gravettian societies might have had complex social support structures. They might have valued members for reasons beyond physical capability or productivity. This site is also famous for its ceramic figurines, notably the Venus figurines that we have talked about previously. But the presence of these artifacts combined with the triple burial indicates a society with established culture, artistic, and perhaps spiritual practices. But yeah, other than that, this burial raises a lot more questions than it does answers. Were these individuals related? Were they part of a unique event or ritual? Various theories, including familial ties or special social roles, have been proposed, but conclusive evidence is yet to be presented. What I do find interesting, though, is that it does give a glimpse into the social dynamics, the beliefs, and the practices of the Upper Paleolithic societies, which we haven't quite seen before. Number 13, the mythical king of the Igbo people. So Eri is this mythical king of the Igbo people, and he is a central figure in the mythology and oral traditions of the Igbo people of southeastern Nigeria. He is considered the ancestral and founding figure of the Igbo lineage, and stories of Eri provide insights into the cultural, spiritual, and historical foundations of one of Nigeria's largest ethnic groups. So in many versions of Igbo oral tradition, Eri is believed to have descended from the sky or heaven, sometimes described as being sent by the supreme deity, Chukwu. Eri and his clan initially settled at a location close to the confluence of the Ezu and Amambala rivers, and this place is often regarded as the cradle of Igbo civilization. He's also recognized as a spiritual figure who had a deep connection with the divine. He played a priestly role performing spiritual and cleansing rituals for his people. So with all that, the debate itself is around whether or not Eri was a historical figure or a mythological one. Some see him as purely spiritual, while others suggest he might have been a real person around whom legends formed over time. There are theories suggesting that Eri and his followers migrated from areas in North Africa, the Middle East, or even further. These theories, though popular among some, lack substantive archaeological or genetic evidence. The figure of Eri is not just a founding legend, but also plays a role in the cultural and spiritual identity of the Igbo people. Rituals, festivals, and ceremonies are still held in his honor, particularly in this area. So yeah, we just don't really know whether or not this guy was actually a real person or a mythological one, but the concept of lineage and kinship among certain Igbo communities trace their origins back to Eri. His descendants, according to tradition, became rulers of various communities that sprang from the initial settlement. Even for just asking questions, culture lore is fascinating to me. Number 14, what was the disease that killed the Neanderthals? So the extinction of the Neanderthals, our closest hominin relatives, has been a subject of intense debate and research for as long as we've known they've existed. So there are a lot of theories proposed to explain their disappearance, but one in particular is about a disease that could have played a significant role in that. Neanderthals disappeared from the fossil record about 40,000 years ago. This extinction coincides with the arrival of anatomically modern humans in Europe, which is central to many of the proposed theories about their demise. As modern humans migrated out of Africa, they might have brought with them tropical diseases to the Neanderthals, who would have had no immunity to these. Evidence of interbreeding between the two species indicates that there was close contact, making disease transmission extremely plausible. So if modern humans introduced new diseases to Neanderthal populations, it's possible that Neanderthals lacked the required immunity to combat these infections, leading to widespread illness and potentially contributing to their decline. While the disease hypothesis is extremely compelling, direct evidence linking specific diseases to Neanderthal populations is extremely sparse. Much of this theory is based on circumstantial evidence and modeling. There are multiple theories regarding Neanderthal extinction, including competition with modern humans for resources, climate change, and genetic factors resulting from small population sizes. It's likely that a combination of factors rather than a single cause led to their demise, but it still is extremely fascinating. It's also worth noting that the fact that many modern humans have a small percentage of Neanderthal DNA suggests that the two species interbred, and this interbreeding would have facilitated the transfer of some immunity to Neanderthals, complicating the disease hypothesis. Identifying specific diseases that might have affected Neanderthals is extremely challenging. However, some researchers point to diseases like tuberculosis or a form of stomach flu as potential culprits. Number 15, ancient Egyptian coin in Australia. In 1912, a remarkable discovery was made in the remote regions of Queensland, Australia. Andrew Henderson, while digging, stumbled upon a coin. Now, this wasn't just any coin, it was actually a bronze coin which came from ancient Egypt, specifically minted during the reign of Ptolemy IV between 221 and 204 BC. And this raised some very important questions, like how did a coin from the Ptolemaic era of Egypt find its way to Australia, a continent believed to have had no contact with ancient Egyptians? One of the most widespread theories, I say widespread, not widely accepted, is that ancient Egyptians may have sailed to Australia. So did they engage in trade or exchanges with the indigenous people? I mean, it is a very interesting thought, but if one single coin is the only evidence of such, it's kind of hard to back this theory. Another proposed theory speculates that the coin might have been part of a longer trade route traveling from Egypt to Papua New Guinea. From there, it could have journeyed through the Torres Strait and into Australia, possibly in the possession of an Aboriginal person. This theory leans on the premise that trade networks were more complex and interconnected than previously believed, so there's some interesting stuff in there too. But the most widely explained theory is that it kind of goes back to the 19th century artifact boom, where there was a surge in global movement of ancient artifacts. During the gold rush era, miners from various parts of the world flocked to places like Queensland in search of a fortune. It's conceivable that a miner, perhaps as a nod to his heritage or as a symbol of status, might have carried the coin as a trinket or souvenir, and over time this coin could have been lost or buried, only to be rediscovered by Henderson in 1912. Now, I'm not saying that this theory is 100% correct. I think it's the most plausible, and Probably like you, I think it would be extremely fascinating to see any other evidence of the ancient Egyptians coming in contact with the Australians. Number 16, the mysterious black bones of Set. So around 3,300 years ago, an unexpected sandstorm unveiled something extremely interesting, I guess, in ancient Egypt. It was a pitch black, seemingly monstrous set of bones. So there are no known records to document the immediate reactions or interpretations of these bones. The primary evidence of the encounter lies in a tomb unearthed in 1922, which also had a lot of other prehistoric fossils, some estimated to be 2 million years old. When the prehistoric fossils were uncovered in the early 20th century by archaeologists Guy Brunton and Flinders Petrie, their true nature was not immediately understood. These relics had been treated with great reverence by the ancient Egyptians, but that was obvious since they were located within a tomb. They were enshrined within a rock-cut tomb and wrapped in fine linens, showing how important they were. Accompanying the fossils were ivory tools, presumably to aid in the afterlife. This tomb, notably, was originally constructed 1,500 years before the fossils' internment, suggesting that the fossils were granted a burial spot traditionally reserved for esteemed individuals. The original location of the fossil find remains a mystery. Evidence indicates that these fossils, which weighed over 3 tons, were transported across vast terrains to their final resting place in the tomb. The destination was a pivotal religious site dedicated to the god Set, a deity associated with darkness, storms, and chaos, often depicted with a head resembling that of a hippopotamus. After the 20th century discovery, the fossils were stored in a museum untouched for nearly 80 years. It wasn't until 2007 that technological advancements, namely X-ray scanning, enabled researchers to glimpse inside the ancient bundles without damaging them. The 2014 revelations showed fossils of various extinct creatures, from giant wildebeests to humans. Predominantly, however, were fossils of massive prehistoric hippopotamuses, creatures linked, like I said before, with the god Set. So given the unique nature of the fossils, durable and blackened, it's possible that the Egyptians believed these to be the very bones of their gods. Past instances support this notion. For example, when ancient Egyptians encountered other fossils near the Giza pyramids, they interpreted them as evidence of Set's dominion and offered them in temples. The dominant presence of prehistoric hippopotamus fossils paired with the god Set's typical representation might have led the Egyptians to believe that they had discovered the remnants of this half-human, half-beast deity. Number 17, mysterious void in Egypt's Great Pyramid. The Great Pyramid of Giza, also known as the Pyramid of Khufu, is one of the most famous archaeological sites in the entire world. As such, this whole thing has been explored extensively, and just when it seemed that every nook and cranny of this ancient wonder had been explored, in 2017, scientists announced the discovery of a massive void within the structure, which led to so much speculation it was ridiculous. Using advanced radiographic techniques, an international team of scientists detected a previously unknown space within the Great Pyramid. This method leverages the cosmic rays that constantly ray down on Earth to probe the internal structures, much like a giant X-ray. The void stretches for at least 30 meters and lies above the Grand Gallery, a sloping hallway that connects the Queen's Chamber to the King's in the heart of the pyramid. Its size is comparable to that of the Grand Gallery, and the exact purpose of this void remains uncertain. Some speculate it may have been an architectural feature intended to relieve weight on the chambers below, and others believe it might have been a concealed chamber, perhaps holding artifacts, burial treasure, or more knowledge about the pyramid and its construction. So the discovery has sparked debate on whether the void is intentional or merely a gap left unintentionally due to the construction methods of the time. Currently, no known corridors or chambers connect to this void, which adds to the mystery. How, if at all, did the ancient Egyptians access this space? And what makes it even more challenging is that the Great Pyramid, being a World Heritage Site, is protected from invasive exploratory methods. Thus, accessing and studying the void without damaging the structure presents significant challenges. So, to get into a couple of the theories, because there are so many, I'll start with some more grounded theories and then move towards more speculative theories. Some experts propose that the void acts as a relieving chamber designed to distribute the weight of the stone blocks and prevent the collapse of the King's Chamber below. The void also might be a result of the construction technique, where an unintentional gap was left between blocks or courses of stones. A French architect theorizes that internal spiral ramps were used to construct the pyramid, and the void could be remnants of such a construction ramp. There's also the architectural acoustic design theory, and the void could be part of a design to amplify or channel sound. especially given the acoustic properties some have noted in the pyramids. And then there's the hidden chamber theory, and it's always kind of been a romantic notion of undiscovered chambers in the pyramid. This has kind of been prevailing since it's been found. This void could be a secret room, potentially housing treasures, ancient records, or even the pharaoh's true burial chamber. Some have noted its astral significance. The ancient Egyptians were known to align their structures astronomically. Some believe the void might align with specific star or constellations, holding symbolic or ritual significance. There's also the pyramid power plant theory, which states that the ancient pyramids were not tombs, but some form of energy generator or power plant, and the void could be a chamber related to this supposed function. And then there's the alien technology storage theory, which proposes that the void was specifically created to house alien technology or artifacts. Some think that it's a portal or stargate. Some think it's a preservation chamber that the ancient Egyptians used to house any kind of ancient advanced technology. And then some think that it's an acoustic healing chamber, which, expanding on the idea of the acoustics, some suggest that the void would be a place where sound was used for healing or meditative practices. So, throw a dart at whichever one you want to believe, and we'll move on. Number 18, the Bachwezi people. The Bachwezi, who are sometimes referred to as the Chwezi or the Bachwezi dynasty, are a mysterious and semi-mythical people from the African Great Lakes region's history. Their legacy is intertwined with the traditions, legends, and histories of several East African ethnic groups. The Bachwezi are believed to have ruled the ancient Bunyoro-Katara Empire, a historic state that existed between the 13th and 15th centuries in present-day Uganda, northern Tanzania, and western Kenya. They are often described as demigods or supernatural beings in legends, possessing a special power and ability. In some narratives, they are depicted as tall, white-skinned, or red-skinned individuals who came from the sky or the underworld. Bachwezi are credited with introducing certain cultural practices, such as worship at specific sites, iron smelting, and cattle keeping in the region. It's believed that the Bachwezi dynasty came to an end due to invasions or internal strife, with the subsequent rise of smaller kingdoms like the Bunyoro, Baganda, and Ankole. The origin of the Bachwezi remains a subject of debate, with some believing they were indigenous to the region, while others suggest that they were migrants or even visitors from another realm or world. Now, distinguishing between historical fact and the myth in the Bachwezi narrative is challenging. Were they truly supernatural beings, or were their feats and abilities exaggerated over time? There are megalithic sites such as the Bigo Bya Magini in Uganda, sorry if I mispronounced that, which are believed to be associated with the Bachwezi. However, definitive archaeological proof linking them directly to the Bachwezi remains scarce. The most grounded theory is that the Bachwezi were actual historical rulers skilled in governance and warfare, and that their reign and history was turned into more of a mythology over many generations. And of course, we have to mention the alien theory, which, given the descriptions of them coming from the sky, some speculative theories suggest extraterrestrial origins for the Bachwezi, though there's no empirical evidence to support this, obviously. Some believe that the Bachwezi might have been a lost tribe or a group of migrants from North Africa or the Middle East, which would account for their distinct physical descriptions in some of the legends. And then drawing from the narrative that they emerged from the underworld, a wilder theory states that the Bachwezi might have been interdimensional beings. And of course, ancient advanced civilization, this is one that is directly pointed to the Bachwezi, and they say that they are the remnants of some ancient advanced civilizations, possibly related to the ancient Egyptians or another advanced African kingdom, which might explain their superior knowledge and skills. But again, give credit where credit's due, maybe they were real people and not aliens. Number 19, the mystery of the Didanum people. So the Didanum people are also called the giants of the ancient world. The ancient sacred texts, particularly the Bible, often speak of various races, and one such mysterious race is the Didanum people, also known as the Tanu or Tidanu. These were the forerunners of the well-known Nephilim and Rephaim, with records dating back to around 3000 BC. Many are familiar with the Nephilim, the progeny resulting from the union of the sons of God and the daughters of men. They were gigantic beings possessing immense power and abilities, often equated with the demigods from various mythologies and religions across the world. Similarly, the Rephaim were giant beings renowned for their strength and described as generation of heroes. In the Bible, they are also depicted as shades or spirits, suggesting their capacity to exist or function across different realities. Ancient scriptures hint at a close connection between the Didanites and the Rephaim, insinuating that the Didanites were another race related to the ancient gods. An old Canaanite text, the Epic of Kret, details how the god El, the chief deity in the Canaanite pantheon and possibly linked to the Egyptian god of Ptah, assures King Keret of restoring his family's honor. This text refers to an assembly of the Didanites, shedding light on the Didanum race. The significance of the Didanum is evident as their council's presence was crucial during a king's coronation. There's also some links to the Amorites. Certain references suggest a potential association between the Amorites and the Didanums. The Amorites are an ancient group from Syria which lived around 2000 to 3000 BC. They identified Jebel Bishri as the Amorites' mountain. Whether they were synonymous with the Didanum or merely borrowed the term is uncertain. Additionally, a Sumerian poem alludes to the Didanum people being adversaries of Inanna, the Sumerian deity of love and war. Some texts do hint at a link between the Didanites and the Didan, a prominent deity revered by the Nubians in Egypt. Notably, Didan was said to be a descendant of Noah. God's wrath was foretold to descend upon Didan's people, reminiscent of the Nephilim's fate, who were eradicated by Joshua under divine guidance. So, with all of this put together, we can kind of gather that the Didanum people were likely giant beings, possibly descended from the gods. They were endowed with exceptional physical and mental prowess and seemed to have connections with ancient royalty. Their significance was such that their name was later used as a title for notable royal figures, but the origins and fate of the Didanum remain a mystery because there's, other than these texts, not any evidence of them actually existing. So yeah, throughout history, these texts say that there were giants, and that's about all we know. And finally, number 20, the 9 Unknown Men of Emperor Ashoka. So the 9 Unknown Men is a legendary secret society linked to the Maurya Emperor Ashoka, one of India's greatest rulers who reigned during the 3rd century BC. According to the legend, after his conversion to Buddhism following the violent Kalinga War, Ashoka became a proponent of peace. Recognizing the potential dangers of advanced knowledge falling into the wrong hands, Ashoka supposedly created this secret group to gather, preserve, and keep hidden certain types of powerful knowledge. The primary duty of these 9 men was to guard and develop certain types of secret information that could, in the wrong hands, that could be used detrimentally and potentially destroy humanity. Each of the 9 was allegedly tasked with a specific book of knowledge, covering various fields like microbiology, alchemy, sociology, and communication, including communication with extraterrestrial beings. The members and their successors have supposedly maintained absolute secrecy about their existence and work. The legend of the 9 Unknown Men has obviously found its way into various literature and conspiracy theories, often mentioned as protectors of powerful secrets or influencers behind major global events. Now, there's no historical evidence providing existence of this group, but that's exactly what they would want. Their story is largely spread through oral traditions and written in fictional accounts. Conspiracies suggest that the 9 Unknown Men might be behind major political decisions or even events in the modern world, operating as like puppeteers from the shadows, I guess. But yeah, one grounded theory is that it's an interpretation and it's just a story. It's completely allegorical, emphasizing Ashoka's transformation from a warmonger to a proponent of peace and his understanding of the potential dangers of unbridled knowledge. Another theory takes the legend at face value, suggesting that the group does exist and continues its secretive operations today. There's also some other theories that suggest that the 9 Unknown Men did exist. They might have merged with or influenced other secret societies around the world. I think this one's kind of interesting because, secret societies are just interesting in general, and they raise so many different conspiracy theories, and it's kind of like a scapegoat. If anything bad happens, you're like, Illuminati or the 9 Men. The 9 Men. Cool. Well, that about wraps up Volume 2. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to all of the support. Thank you so much to all my patrons as well. It really does mean a lot to have people that care about my content as much as I love making it, so that's really fantastic to see. Thank you to Jag, Dhruv Singhal, Dates and Dead Guys, Christian Samuel, Brennan Smith, and Beanfart. But to everybody else, thank you for watching. I do appreciate you. We'll see you in the next episode.